So you want to get buff. You want to take things to the next level. You want to be the best you can be. And no, I'm not talking about getting arms and abs like good Leonidas over here. I'm talking about these kind of buffs. Yeah, that's the stuff. Hi, and welcome to Red Evony. I am Akayasha. You can call me Aka. And if you hadn't guessed, in this video, we're going to be talking about buffs. Here is the quick run through. Buffs are essentially boosts to the basic attributes and power of your troops. Now, instead of giving you a long explanation about what buffs are, let me show you. I present to you Exhibit A. This is a level 1 ground troop. And as you can see, it shows the various stats of this troop: attack, HP, defense. And this is as close to base stats as I could get my hands on. Next, I present to you Exhibit B. This is also a level 1 ground troop, but from a different account. My account, actually. Again, we see the stats for attack, HP, and defense and other stats shown. Now, it might be a bit difficult for you to tell the difference between the two, so let's put them up side by side. Looking at the two, this, in a nutshell, is what buffs do. They increase the fighting attributes of the troops. And in essence, Evony is a game of buffs. So, taking a hypothetical situation where Exhibit A goes up against Exhibit B, based on the buffs alone, all things being equal, B is going to win. B is the stronger troop, has the higher buffs, it's going to win. That is why it is important for you to work on improving your buffs. It gives you more of a fighting chance. Now that we've done that basic run through, let's look at the various ways you can increase your buffs. When it comes to increasing your buffs, there are two main avenues for you to increase your buffs. The first one is your general. The second one is your keep. And we're going to touch on both of these very briefly. There are several ways for you to improve your buffs with your general. The first one we're going to touch on is leveling and cultivation. The process of completing the cultivation on your general and increasing your general's level. This is one of the best ways to improve the buffs of your general. The next thing we're going to talk about are skill books. Skill books essentially add buffs to your general, but when it comes to increasing your general's buffs, it's really only effective when you have lower level skill books that you are increasing to higher level skill books. Your gear is also another way for you to improve the buffs with your general. In terms of improving, what we're talking about here is upgrading your gear to higher quality gear. So if you are at King's gear, moving to Dragon gear, if you're at Dragon gear, moving to Achaemenid or Ares gear, and if you're at Achaemenid or Ares, moving to Civilization gear. The next thing you can do to improve the buffs with your general is refining. In terms of improving buffs, it would mean raising some of those low refines that you have to higher level refines. And that's basically what it is. Specialties is another way for you to increase the buffs of your general. And with specialties, there are incremental increases until you reach the maximum. So completing your specialties is another way to improve the buffs on your general. The new Ascension feature is another way for you to improve the buffs on your general, trying to get it to 6 stars and above. Next, we have Spirit Beasts or Dragons. These are also another way to improve the buffs of your general. And with Spirit Beasts or Dragons, we're really talking about upgrading them so that you can get more buffs from them. With Dragons, you also have the addition of refines and talents. All those will improve the buffs of your general. Next, let's talk about the keep. When it comes to the keep, the most important thing for you to improve your buffs is research. Going into your academy or the military academy and working on your technology. That's arguably the best way to improve your buffs in your keep. The next thing we'll look at is your monarch level. Raising your monarch level means raising the cap on your generals, and that means stronger buffs for your generals. You also look at monarch gear. Your monarch gear is another way for you to improve the buffs that you have. So raising your monarch gear to higher level gear will increase your buffs. When it comes to your keep, we can also talk about sub-cities. The more sub-cities you add, Japan, Russia sub-cities, these will increase your buffs in turn. In addition, for your keep, you can have what we're calling keep buffs. So these are buffs that you get from duty officers, keep bonus buffs like you get in the art hall, and special keep decorations that give you buffs when you have those decorations on your keep. For keep buffs, the offering buff you get from your shrine can also be considered in this category. And of course, raising your shrine level means higher buffs that you can get from completing your 20 offerings and getting the King's Protection buff activated. So that was a quick run through of the two main avenues that we have. It is important to note that for the buffs that you get from your general, these are what we're going to call isolated buffs. In other words, they are buffs that will be applied only to the troops being led by that general. With buffs from your keep, these are what we're going to call universal buffs, in the sense that they will apply to all your troop types, irrespective of whichever general is leading the troops. So it is important for you to know the difference between the two, and that will help you as you go along. Next, we're going to talk about strategies for you to increase your buffs. And when it comes to increasing your buff, the strategy that you need to apply is actually very simple. At any point in time, pick one or any combinations of the ways we mentioned earlier to improve your buffs and work on those. That's it. It's very simple. It's nothing as complicated as saying trying to channel your inner energy and go Super Saiyan. It's literally pick a method and work on it. It's simple, but in a lot of situations it's not easy. So let's say, for example, I wanted to increase my ground troop attack. The first thing I would do is go to my ground general. I have my ground general here. I recently got Elise and I've worked on her to the point where I can start using her for PvP. So in this situation, to look at my ground troop attack, first thing I would do is I'll look at my weapon, look at my refines. Are there any that I could improve? If I see there are, then I could start working on that. As you see, I haven't done any specialties on Elise. So if I wanted to increase my ground troop attack buffs, working on specialties could be a potential option. I could also look at my dragon. My dragon isn't maxed out yet. So improving my dragon could also be a way to increase my ground troop attack buffs. And of course, I could go to my academy and then I look at my research for ground troop attack. I see there's still potential to improve this. So this becomes an option as well. And just like that, you work your way through all the available options. Once you've done that, then you think, which of these can I do? Research might be possible, but I will need gold and speed ups to do that. If getting those is something that is feasible, then it becomes a viable option. On the other hand, we looked at my dragon. At this point in time, let's say I don't have enough materials right now. So increasing the level of my dragon to improve my ground troop attack is possible but not feasible. So we put that option on hold. And then we looked at refining. I've got a bit of gold. I've got some refined stones. I've got some gems. Then refining could be a possibility. All you do is you work your way through the various possibilities, see which ones you could potentially achieve, and then you start working towards those. That is the best way to come up with a plan to increasing the buffs that you have. Also, it is important to note that at no point in time did we mention anything about troop count. Increasing your troop count means increasing your military power. It does not mean increasing your buffs. It's a completely different thing. So we need to be clear on that. If you want to increase your buffs, increasing the amount of troops that you have is not the way to do it. The other thing that you need to keep in mind is exactly what buffs you are trying to improve and how you're going to focus on them. You need to know the requirements for improving the buffs. So you need to know whether what you're working on is an isolated buff specific for that general, or you are looking at universal buffs that will impact all of your troops. And of course, once you are clear on those, it will influence how you go about trying to achieve those increases. In an ideal situation, you would probably want to mix some isolated buffs with some universal buffs. That way, it helps you ensure a more balanced development for your generals, for your troops, and for your keep. So, if you like the content in this video, be sure to give it a like. If you have any questions or comments regarding some of the ways that we've talked about increasing your buffs in this video, please feel free to drop a comment down below. The next video that will be coming out will be looking at understanding and how to increase your debuffs. Thank you. Aka signing out.